program, skills that we need to develop in 2025 and beyond, we realized as an organization that upskilling is important. Artificial intelligence has come to completely change the game. And it's really important for everyone. And this is to everyone, not just even people who are just starting or people who are people who are starting, people who have been in the game for a long time need to upskill, right, to remain relevant. And like I would always say, if you do not upskill, you're just not being left behind. You're just not valuable. You're just not able to add any value at all. And so this is why we have decided to bring together resources, bring together the right information, the right tools to be able to help people upskill. And so we've selected speakers from different parts of the world who are experts in this to come and give the knowledge, the direction. And today is more about the practicality. You're going to be learning what skills exactly you need to develop, how you need to develop it, and how you're going to use those skills for your success. So my encouragement to every single person is just really focus. We're going to be here for a few hours, taking all of the knowledge. When it's time to ask questions, please ask questions, engage, and make sure that you're taking everything that you need for your year. Right. So I want to say thank you again to all the speakers for being here and being here on time. And I hope it will be an amazing session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Timmy, for the welcome address. And as Timmy has said, we're going to be here for some time. So please just ensure we soak in everything that we can and take a lot of things. Our speakers are equipped and they are ready for us. So please let's do well to ensure that we take in a lot. So we have some of our speakers. We have Miss Lynn joining from New York. We have Miss Nicola joining from UK, Scotland. Thank you. We also have Miss Sharon joining from Nigeria. Then we have David. Hello, David. Lina David. She's joining from Nigeria as well. We have Adi Damola as well joining from Nigeria and Ibrahim joining from Nigeria. So thank you everyone for being here. So I'll just do a brief introduction of our speakers before we go right into it. So first up, we have Miss Nicola Tully. She's an employability and graduate skills lead at the University of Dundee in Scotland, and she'll be focusing on soft skills and how to develop the skills. Then we have Miss Lynn Tusignant, who is the founder of Blogversity and Agency 3.0. She will be focusing on artificial intelligence and technical skills. Then we have Miss Seun Adewumi, who is the global HR leader and business process executive and founder of an HR consultancy company. And she'll be discussing the change in the workplace and the skills employers and industries are asking for. So we'll be proceeding right now to our first speaker of the day, Miss Nicola Tully. I'll just be reading a short bio before she comes up. So Miss Nicola Tully is an accomplished academic with extensive experience in working in further education and higher education institutions. At the University of Dundee, she is a senior law lecturer within the School of Humanities, Social Sciences, Law, and the school's employability and graduate skills lead. Additionally, she's an employability co-academic strategic lead within the University of Dundee's Education Academy, a pivotal role in shaping employability strategies across the institution and focused on embedding employability into the curriculum to ensure all students have equitable opportunities. Her expertise spans skill development, personal development planning, and reflective practice, which is further evidenced by her roles as an external examiner in work-based and experiential learning in other institutions. Recognized for her outstanding contributions to employability, she was honored with the Student-Led Teaching Award for Employability in 2024, testament to her commitment to enhancing students' outcomes and fostering a culture of continuous learning and development. Having navigated her own career pathway through periods of change, redundancy, and further development, bringing a wealth of personal insight to her roles, this lived experience enriches her practice and provides others with practical and relatable insights and guidance. So please join me as we welcome Ms. Nicola Tully for her session.
Thank you very much for that lovely introduction. Would you be able to share the slides for me, if that's okay? And I'm certainly not going to lecture everybody, but I certainly wanted to use some slides just so we could kind of use them as a visual as we go through. It's wonderful. I'll just give you a little bit of a nod, or should I say a shout, when I need to move on to the next slide. So thank you very much once again for that wonderful introduction, and I want to say good day to everybody. Absolutely delighted to be invited today as a guest speaker, along with our other two esteemed speakers as well. So just to give you a little bit more kind of background and context into who I am and what I do, to kind of build on what has already been kind of introduced at the moment. So I'm a senior lecturer in law. I haven't taught now for, well, I say well over kind of 25 years. That is obviously my kind of speciality. But I'm also, as already been mentioned, an employability lead and graduate skills lead within the School of Humanities, Social Sciences and Law. So that's really working with 5 different divisions within that particular school. So I work very, very closely with academic staff and students within humanities, which is humanities, English, history, philosophy. I also work with academic staff and students across psychology, energy and environment, education and society, and that also incorporates social work and other languages as well. So quite a big division and quite different kind of skill sets amongst different kind of disciplines as well. As already mentioned, I'm also one of the academic strategic leads for employability within our Education Academy, which we run at Dundee University. So today I'm really going to speak more from an academic perspective, from dealing with students and graduates, really when it comes to focusing on skills. But I'll also tie in a little bit from an employer engagement perspective, because obviously I have lots of dealings with many graduate employers as well. I'm aware that Temi has already kind of raised some of the questions that some of you would like to be addressed. So I'm hoping that I can perhaps touch on some of the questions that are aimed around steps to starting achieving career goals from an early age. I'm hoping to give you a little bit of an insight into some of the key trends and insights that are the most in-demand skills for 2025 and beyond, and also to start thinking about some of the essential skills for excelling in the global marketplace. So again, I'm hoping to kind of touch on some of those as we go through today. What I will say is my caveat for today is I'm not a careers advisor, but I certainly work very, very closely with our amazing careers team within Dundee University. But I am an advisor of studies when it comes to helping my students to set career goals, looking at SMART goals, thinking about SWOT analysis, and really thinking about how they can reflect, but also to think about their personal development planning. What I would say today is really an opportunity to really start opening up that kind of conversation about recognising and understanding and starting to think about how we can articulate our skills development. We, as an institution within Dundee, we certainly get our students and graduates to think about what skills they have and how those skills can be leveraged into the future and how they can stay relevant in an evolving job market as well. Not least now also trying to keep up with and navigating the rapid and fast-paced technological advancements and the adoption of so many different digital tools, with the impeding question of what is going to be the impact of generative AI. So I hope some of what I say resonates for some of you in the audience, whether you're looking at this from the angle of being a student, being a graduate, being a career changer, or being an employer as well. So as you can see there on the slide just now, I've kind of raised some of the bullet points in terms of some of the questions that I often get asked by my students that come to see me. You know, what skills do I have? Are these skills transferable? You know, what is the difference between soft skills and hard skills? How can I identify and articulate these? But most importantly, how can I stay ahead of the game? How can I leverage these skills in a fast-paced, changing future? But also, what are the skills that employers want? And again, I'm going to give you a little bit of insight into perhaps what graduates think employers want, but also looking at what perhaps employers actually do want as well. And then I've also raised the question there in relation to AI, because we often get asked, should I be using AI to help write my assessments? Should I be using AI to write my cover letters to employers? Should I use AI to write my CV? So I want to touch on some of that as well, and I'd be very, very interested to open up that discussion, to hear from the audience, but also to hear from the other guest speakers as well. So can we move on to the next slide, please, in relation to the screenshots? That's absolutely wonderful. Thank you very much. So really, as a starting point, I wanted to kind of give you a little bit of insight into from a student or graduate perspective, because as a starting point, we often get our students to consider what they think employers are actually looking for. And I've used this particular resource here from Bright Network, which is an early careers platform. And I've used that particular resource to help provide the insights of what employers actually value against what actual students think employers actually value as well. And I wanted to kind of show you, you can see quite a stark kind of contrast in relation between the two. So if we look at the insights from students, we can see that number one, students often think that existing industry experience is at the top of the scale. That's what employers are actually looking for. But you can see the contrast in relation to the insights from employers, where that actually comes right at the bottom of that particular scale. And the other part that I wanted to kind of highlight from that particular point is resilience as well. As we can see from this particular survey, 2024-25, students rated resilience as being number 8 on that particular scale, as opposed to, if we look at it from the insight from an employee perspective, they've rated it as number 2. So again, we certainly have to think about what students or graduates think employers want, but actually ask, what is it that employers actually want as well? So I thought that was quite a nice contrast, just to kind of set the tone in relation to, what it is that we're actually looking for in relation to skills and skills development. We certainly have students that come to us with absolutely no prior experience of, working within a particular industry, or perhaps within a particular kind of career pathway that they may wish to follow. But we often speak to our students about, well, do you have any volunteering experience? Do you have any involvement in particular societies, which you can equally demonstrate a lot of these soft skills as well? So I thought that was quite an interesting kind of starting point, just to kind of start us off in terms of our conversation. If we can move on to kind of the next slide, again, just as a visual just now. So that's looking at, the previous slide was looking at it from kind of a student stroke graduate kind of perspective. And as I said, I used the resource from Bright Network, which is an early careers platform. This one here now, just now, the World Economic Forum, this is really looking at it from an employer's perspective. So that particular World Economic Forum has well over 1,000 global employers. And in terms of the survey that's been carried out, I wanted to just kind of give you almost like a snapshot of what's being considered to be kind of the top 10 core skills. Now, there are other skills within that particular survey, but I just wanted to kind of give you that kind of screenshot of those top 10. So the survey itself, just to give you a little bit of context, the survey itself is taken from the Future of Jobs survey, where respondents identified the core skills as required by particular workers. So they're looking at skills ranging from cognitive, engagement, self-efficacy, technology, management, ethics, working with others, and so forth. What I will say as a little bit of a caveat is there are distinctions within specific sectors and also certain geographies. But again, this is just to kind of give you a little bit of a screenshot of what is considered to be some of the core skills in 2025. And what I wanted to show you quite notably is the last kind of survey that we often kind of go through with our students was kind of taken from 2023, but we now have that updated survey of 2025. And as you can see from that slide there just now, we can see a shift in what the respondents identified as being the core skills in 2025. And as one can see from looking at that, we can see that analytical thinking still remains the top core skill for employers. And that within the report itself, that was really looking at least 7 out of 10 employers considering that to be one of the core skills, with creative thinking being fourth, and also motivation and self-awareness being fifth. So really what I wanted to kind of use that as a kind of focal point to start thinking about the skills that are expected to be in high demand as the job market evolves, and as we are driven now more so in relation to technological advancements and changing in all of our working environments as well. I have highlighted curiosity and lifelong learning, and I'll speak a little bit more about that and the reason why I've done that once we go through the next set of slides. So if we can move on to the next slide, please. Wonderful. So still concentrating on that particular survey, I've picked out the top 5 from that particular snapshot. And as stated in the report, the combination of cognitive and interpersonal skills, self-efficacy, and interpersonal skills within the top 5 emphasises the importance ascribed by respondents to having an agile, innovative, collaborative workforce where both problem-solving abilities and personal resilience are critical for success. And that particular part that I've put in bold there just now, I think that really kind of emphasises the importance of, soft skills in 2025 and also beyond as well. So we're looking at analytical thinking, we're thinking about resilience, we're looking at leadership, we're thinking about creative thinking, but also that motivation and self-awareness. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So that was the top 5 in the first slide there just now. And moving on to the next set of 5, where we're looking at technological literacy, empathy, active listening, curiosity, lifelong learning, talent management, service orientation, and also customer service. And again, I've taken out a quotation, which again, I think really kind of highlights the importance of these particular skills, because as stated in that particular survey, these are skills that reflect the important role of technical proficiency, strong interpersonal skills, emotional intelligence, and a commitment to continuous learning, demonstrating the respondents' expectations that workers must balance hard and soft skills to thrive in today's environment. So again, once again, I really think that really kind of emphasises the importance of these particular skills. So that was just to give you, again, a little bit of a screenshot from what our students and graduates often think employers are looking for, along with what employers themselves are actually looking for as well. What's really, really interesting about the World Economic Forum in relation to the Future of Jobs report survey is they also emphasise the skills that are on the rise. So I gave you a screenshot of 1 to 10, and I want you to think about what do you think is number 11 on that particular kind of survey. Because if we move on to the next slide, what I would say is that number 11 was AI and big data. That was really kind of sitting kind of at the top there just now. So what the World Economic Forum also kind of highlights is what are the top skills on the rise from 2025 to 2030. And as we can see there just now, and as they emphasize, AI and big data are predicted to see significant growth across nearly all sectors. Again, if you were to look at this particular forum, there are industry-specific variations in the evolving importance of specific skills. But again, I'm just using this as a particular kind of snapshot here just now. So the results of this particular survey really focus on current skills and anticipated skills, whether or not they will increase or decrease in importance, and really assessing skills that are expected to become core skills. So looking at the significance of these skills and the anticipated evolution of these skills. So AI and big data is at the top of that particular survey. But I've highlighted that's not to forget the other important skills that are equally as important. So I've highlighted creative thinking, I've highlighted resilience, flexibility, and agility. I've also highlighted curiosity and lifelong learning, which again, as I go through the remainder of the slides, I hope I can really emphasize the importance of developing these particular skills themselves. So if we move on to the next slide just now, what is the take home that we can get from this particular survey? What is really the take home that we can get from discussing some of these particular skills? So what is quoted from the survey, I think says it all, it emphasizes it all, because skills such as AI and big data, analytical thinking, creative thinking, resilience, flexibility, agility, technological literacy are not only considered critical, but are also projected to become even more important. And moreover, leadership, social influence, curiosity and lifelong learning, systems thinking, talent management, motivation and self-awareness solidify their importance, emphasising the continued relevance of human-centric skills amid rapid technological advances. And I think that really then opens up that discussion about the impact of generative AI and how important AI is, and when should we be using it, and should we be using it in that particular context. So if we move on to the next slide just now, and this is really where I am going to pose lots of questions. I certainly don't have all of the answers when it comes to thinking about and talking about AI itself. But I want to raise some of the questions, and some of the questions that students often ask me. And likewise, even as an academic, a lot of questions that I still have in relation to AI as well. So without a doubt, we're living in a world of generative AI, and without a doubt, this raises lots of questions, lots of grey areas. Who is using it? Where is it being used? How is it being used? When is it being used? Why should we be using it? And likewise, it also poses many issues, many challenges. It does have certain benefits, but it also has certain limitations as well. So what I can say in terms of some of my input, and again, everybody will agree with this, the world is evolving, it's extremely fast-paced, there's lots of technological advancements. Obviously, from an academic perspective, we need to prepare our students and graduates for that. But what is that impact? Is there going to be too much dependency on AI? And as I've already mentioned, I certainly don't have the answers, and I certainly look forward to opening that discussion, hearing from our audience and hearing from our other guest speakers as well. And certainly it's still somewhat of a little bit of a grey area as well. So I will provide some of my own thoughts as an academic, as an educator within an educational establishment, and from working very closely with our careers teams and academics across our institution, where for our students, it is a case of how to use it, but more so when is it permissible to actually use it. Now, what I really want to stress is, and again, you'll all agree with me, AI is a tool. It's a tool that can enhance efficiency, and it can, and it will be, and it will continue to be transformative, but it is a tool. And Temi, I think you had a recent LinkedIn post quite recently where you referred to it as being a tool which, when leveraged correctly, can obviously be transformative. Now, what I will say again as an academic and as an educator, we want our students to learn how to learn. We want our students to learn how to learn. We want to see our students generate their own ideas. We want to hear our students sharing their own voice. We want to hear our students sharing their own thoughts. We want them to be able to reflect. We want them to be able to develop their skills, to have the ability to think on their feet. Now, again, in terms of quite a lot of the research, some may fear that these particular tools could lead to a decline in students' critical and creative thinking in relation to the decline of there being effective communicators, and we could see a decline in their problem-solving skills. Again, AI is a tool that does not reflect the personal elements, the human empathy, the feelings, the reflections, the authenticity, the personalization. A lot of these are important soft skills. So just to give you an example, I teach the law of contracts, and I also teach our students in relation to negligence as well, where our students are often provided with hypothetical scenarios. I want my students to be able to develop their problem-solving skills. So I want them to use particular strategies. So I'm just going to give you one of the strategies that I refer to, which is called ILAC, which is where I want the students to be able to identify the issues and the problems. I want my students to be able to outline the law. They need to go away. They need to go away and read and carry out that particular research and interpret that particular research. I want my students to be able to apply the facts, what they've learnt in terms of the law. I want them to be able to apply that to the facts that have been presented. I want them to be able to conclude and think about the possible solutions so that they can then actually advise the client. So again, that's all about that personal element, that's that human element, the authenticity, the personalization. So we have, as many institutions and other organizations will have policies on using generative AI, and we have what's called an AI assessment scale when we're actually marking assessments. Quite interestingly, just over the last kind of few weeks, I have been reading some really interesting posts on LinkedIn that have been emphasising some of the policies that are needed to indicate what technologies are allowed, when they can be used, but also why these technologies can be used or why they can't be used. And I really think the emphasis is really on the why, as opposed to simply saying, well, what is allowed and what isn't allowed. So we all know generative AI can and it does make errors. And for some time, what I would say is, particularly for some of our students, is without having that baseline knowledge and understanding, or simply by taking the time to spot some of these errors and indeed some of the hallucinations in the output, that can produce certain problems. We're looking for that human expertise. We're thinking about the accuracy, the credibility, the reliability. So what I would say is, it's not a case of not allowing our students to use AI. It's about, I suppose, helping our students to understand the importance for them to have the ability to assess and critique the outputs of what the generative AI tools are actually producing. We also know that generative AI technologies consistently reproduce certain biases, whether that's cultural, racial, gender, to do with language, or in relation to ability and disability biases as well. And again, we have to be able to respond to that and explain to our students, these are the kind of things that they need to look out for if and when they're actually allowed or permitted to use AI. But not least, there's also other environmental impacts, which is a completely other conversation. So again, I haven't really addressed any answers there in relation to the impact of AI. I'm looking at this from kind of an educational perspective. And again, I really look forward to hearing what our other guest speakers say in relation to the use of AI. If we can go on to the next slide, please. So in terms of some of the questions that myself and my the Wonderful Careers team at Dundee, certainly we get asked from time to time whether or not, students should be using AI for cover letters and for their CVs. And one of the questions, that we often get asked is, if we've got generative AI, if we can use ChatGPT to write a cover letter for us or to write a CV for us, why should we bother? Why should we bother? And that's often a typical question that we asked. So again, we often refer them to this wonderful resource, which is the Bright Network kind of resource, which have a fantastic website on how to use AI for job searching and application. And what they really kind of emphasize, they really provide 5 important rules in how to use AI responsibly but I'm going to kind of add in another word there, ethically, as well. So their particular take on this is, if you're going to use AI, use it as a tool. And I emphasize AI being a tool right at the very beginning. It's about how you can use this particular tool, but not as a replacement. And again, a lot of employees are perhaps not looking for things that are generic or predictable. Employees are interested in you. Likewise, to make sure you sound like yourself. AI is unable to obviously capture our way of thinking or our particular tone. I've already mentioned about the fact that we know that AI can produce errors. We know particularly that it can in essence produce things that are completely wrong, or it can lie, it can have those particular hallucinations. So it is about fact check, and then fact checking again. And Bright Network also emphasised the fact that you need to keep it concise and think about, if you have used AI, what is it actually communicating, and is it meaningful what it's actually communicating as well? And the last kind of key point that they note is we have to be careful with private kind of data as well. We need to be able to protect our data. And again, another kind of grey area in that particular respect. So again, one of the quotations I've taken from that research is, spotting AI generated writing is easy because it tends to be more generic than human writing. Now that's taken, like I say, from Bright Network, that we're asking the questions about whether or not students should be using AI for CVs and cover sheets and cover letters and so forth. I'm also looking at that from a particular academics perspective when we're actually marking, students' assessments as well. So again, what am I trying to emphasize, and what is really the take home that I really want us to kind of start thinking about? So if we can move on to the next slide, please. So again, often I get asked, how can I future-proof my skills? Life is changing. There are many challenges. We have to navigate these particular challenges. So I've really tried to put up a slide here just now, just to kind of tie in some of those things I've been saying about skills, how I've tied in a little bit about generative AI. So just want to go through it with you just now. I would say, in terms of kind of staying relevant, it's all about embracing lifelong learning. We know the world is evolving, but it's all about continuously developing your skills, your competencies, and your experiences. So whether that is to go out and gain extra practical experience, whether that is to take up some volunteering as well, it is all about lifelong learning and embracing that lifelong learning. But we can't get away from being tech savvy. We need to stay tech savvy. We need to stay relevant in this digital world. We need to stay informed of these emerging technologies. It's all about that awareness, that understanding, when to use, what it can be used for, when it can't be used, but also that entails that data and ethical governance as well. One thing that I would stress, which kind of ties in with some of the skills that we've kind of mentioned from some of the screenshots, is in relation to networks. Now, what I would say is network. It's really important to develop your professional network, whether that is joining forums, signing up to webinars, the power of LinkedIn, seeking mentorship and support opportunities. It's really to be able to create a connection with somebody in a room. It's really important to be able to make that connection and develop those particular relationships to help us continuously develop our skills. And it's really a great opportunity to really listen and to learn from others as well. What we should all be doing as well is following profession and industry trends. It's all about staying informed, and we can see what the key trends are, and we can see what the important skills are that these particular professions are looking for. But above all, again, thinking about the skills, it's all about being able to build resilience. There will always be hurdles, there'll always be barriers, there'll always be challenges and changes along the way. And I know in my introduction, there was mention of the fact that, I was made redundant quite a number of years ago. And again, at that particular moment in time, and I was really kind of thinking about, well, what skill set do I have to be able to go into another kind of career pathway? So it is about, picking yourself up and building that particular resilience and not being scared to fail. Failure should not be seen as a particular negative. So really what I want you to get, or this particular take home, what I'd like you to get from this particular session is all about being flexible, having the ability to adapt, to change, thinking about the importance of critical thinking, problem solving, building that resilience, but above all, embracing change, thinking about the challenge, evolve with that. Take time to reflect on all that what you have achieved, but also will continue to achieve as well. I always say to my students, showcase yourself and recognize and articulating the skills that you have, but also position yourself with the experience. If you've not if you don't possess, or if you've not got the industry experience, think about what else you could do to continually develop the skills that's required. So a lot of my students often go out to look for volunteering opportunities, but continuously build up particular networks as well. And I just want to remind everybody that yes, soft and hard skills are both critical. Those soft and interpersonal skills, those transferable skills across different jobs and industries, the communication, the problem solving, the leadership, the teamwork, the critical and creative thinking, the adaptability. This is the human side, how you think, how you work, how you interact, not a tool. So I just want to kind of finish off by one thing that I was just looking at recently on a LinkedIn post, and it was from a managing director of a legal firm. And it really kind of resonated with me because this particular managing director stated, we aren't looking to hire robots. We want people with passion, insight, and empathy as much as we want the legal skills. We want to hear from you as a person. So again, once again, emphasizing that human side and that human element. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nicola. That was a very insightful presentation. And I'm sure everyone too can agree with me. All right, so we'll be taking some questions now. Yeah, so if you have a question for Ms. Nicola, please, you can actually raise your hand, or you can put your question in the chat.
If nobody has any questions, just I'm quite happy to answer them after the session as well. Temi, I'm sure if any questions come to you, Temi, I'm sure you will get in touch with me on that.
Okay, so yeah, so also be having a breakout session at the end of this session with all three speakers, so you can also interact with them one-on-one if you have any question. Okay, someone has a question actually. All right, hello Ibrahim. So if you don't mind, you can unmute yourself and just ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so before I ask my question, I would like to say, yeah, I really appreciate the presentation. And of course, though I don't used to attend webinars, but this is the first time I'm coming across this highly educational webinar that I learn a lot. Yeah. So my question is, due to some challenges we are facing as a result of this advent of AI, because in the workplace, people used to undermine people that are using AI. They'll be saying, okay, it's because you don't have maybe communication or writing skills. That's why you are using AI. Why now, let me say, professionals are advocating for adopting AI as a friend or a tool that will help you to do your work, let me say, perfectly. So my question is, how can someone leverage the use of AI in a workplace, and as well as escape such kind of challenges faced by maybe co-workers or your bosses? Yeah, because you understand what I'm trying to say. People used to undermine people that are using AI, especially ChatGPT or something like that.
That's a really interesting question, and again, in terms of often students, come to, and even graduates come to me to say, in terms of, should I be using AI? And I think we're living in a society where we can't stop people from using AI, as I mentioned. AI in terms of having that as a particular tool, can produce a lot of kind of efficiencies, and it can help in certain respects. But I think it is about understanding those particular kind of limitations and knowing when it can be used and when it can't be used. Quite interestingly, just last week, I think it was just in the last couple of weeks, I led on an expo, and within that particular expo, we had various different students and employers, and that really opened up quite an interesting, lively discussion on using AI. And one of the guest speakers that was on the panel was a solicitor who was one of our alumni from our university. And the question that I raised to them was, within your particular firm, do you allow staff to use AI? And her response was, well, we can't stop staff from using AI because, again, there's certain things that AI is going to help us with. But there's certain things that AI will not help us with. So, for instance, in terms of that client interaction, we can't lose that. In terms of the empathy towards the clients, we can't lose that. But AI can certainly help us structure certain things. AI can certainly help us do a little bit of research, albeit there are limitations because some of that could be incorrect, there could be errors and so forth. I don't know if anybody is aware that there have been court cases, particularly within the legal professions, of particular solicitors using AI when in actual fact some of the case law was actually incorrect. So again, I think it is just being able to be aware of when it can be used and how it can be used and whether or not the organisation that you're working for does actually allow it. And I'd be really, really interested to hear from our other kind of guest speakers in terms of coming at that from an employer's kind of perspective as well. So I don't know if that answers your question directly. It's kind of a roundabout way, because I think we need to kind of open up more of a discussion on AI.
Yeah, of course. The question is answered. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nicola. So does anyone else have any question before we move on? Okay, I'm guessing like more questions will come after. All right, so thank you so much, Ms. Nicola, for the
Thank you so
presentation.
much.
Thank you. All right, so we'll be having our second speaker as Miss Line Tusignant. And yeah, so Miss Line is a business leader who thrives at the intersection of innovation and strategy. She founded Avomark, a consulting firm focused on digital transformation across various industries, including finance, retail, and beauty. There, she even developed a pioneering method to quantify a user's social media influence for brands. Her expertise in strategic planning led her to Valtech, a global web agency. As the head of strategy, she grew the practice by spearheading strategic initiatives for major luxury brands, such as Harry Weinstein, MAC Cosmetics, and L'Oreal. Her dedication to staying at the forefront of innovation is further exemplified by her recent founding of Agency 3.0. This consultancy equips businesses with the tools they need to thrive in the evolving digital landscape by leveraging new technologies to streamline operations, enhance customer experiences, and unlock new revenue streams. Further underlining her commitment to fostering success in others, she's also behind Blogversity, a unique platform designed to support and empower online educators and coaches. So please join me as we welcome our second speaker, Ms. Line, as she takes us further.
Thank you very much for this introduction. I'm very happy to be here today. So briefly, yes, I am Line Tusignant and the founder of Blogversity that you see behind me. So Blogversity really, it goes to align, and I just want to say to the previous guest speaker, you had so many good points in your presentation. I've been taking a lot of notes, so now I have so many things I would like to say. But one of the things you said was lifelong learning. And this is why Blockversity is there, because, you know, education, AI is impacting everything, including education. And it is going very fast comparing to, you know, innovation that we had from an, you know, history point of view. And the result of that is that it is no longer true that, you know, you graduate, you have your diploma, you get to, you know, to the labor market, and this is it. It's no longer true. You need to keep constantly to update your skills, because otherwise you will fall behind. So Blockversity mission is to connect people who have knowledge to share with people who want to learn. We are really focusing on communities around knowledge. So Blockversity is, I would say, the mother community, composed of a lot of small communities where people can, you know, connect together. And we help with educating on AI, providing tools, and so on. So if you're interested in Blockversity and you're a learner, feel free to join us. It is free, so there is no charge for that. And for educators, we have different programs that we offer. But enough about this. I want to come back to the reason why we are here today. And it is to talk about the impact of AI and to talk about the skills that you need. And when I was asked to do this presentation, you know, I started thinking, how can I really explain this in a way that will resonate with people, and that people can really understand what it means for them, no matter what they do today. You know, student, entrepreneur, teacher. I mean, it for everybody, every industry, there is an impact with AI. So the first thing is, you know, if I can share my screen. I have some slides, but I'm telling you, I will not follow the slides. I'm not very good at following slides. I will just go through and cover some of the topics. But let me see if I can share my screen. Can you see my screen now? Yes, okay, perfect. So let me just move this out of the way. So one of the things that, you know, I want to say is that you see here PowerPoint presentation with a lot of slides. It took me quite some time to put all my notes together and thinking about, you know, what I would cover today. And then I had all this collection of notes, you know, a bit disorganized. And then I said, okay, how do I present this? I need a PowerPoint. Doing a PowerPoint is very time consuming. You need to, you know, shows you images, add the titles, align everything. This PowerPoint that you see here has how many slides? Maybe something around clear 30 slides, you know, close to 30 slides. It took about 60 seconds to do this presentation because I use AI. Gamma, if you're interested, Gamma app. I just gave my notes and I said, please prepare presentation. And all those images were created, all the slides were created. And this brings me to talking about the skills that you need today. The skills are changing. I could not even say not long ago, because it is still the case that some people will see on your resume if you are able to do PowerPoint. It's no longer important because you no longer need to know exactly how to use this, because what you need to do, and it goes back to this critical thinking, analysis, and all of this information that AI can help you with. but it should help you with it. Because what I see, I think that AI is an amazing thing. I think that AI is a terrible thing. It is both. And why it is both and how it is both, actually the difference, the answer to this is you. How you will use AI. Because I think that AI can create very lazy people. I don't need to think. I go to AI, I ask my question, I ask a report, I get my information, and this is it. What did I do as a human in the process? Well, barely nothing. How does it make me grow? How does it make me stand out? It doesn't. Because you need to keep in mind that AI, it's like this huge infinite bank of data, and that is going to start bringing up the same thing. So basically, if you just use AI without using your own critical thinking, your own brain, your own skills, then you become a commodity and you can be replaced, and you can be replaced directly by AI. So that's why I say it can be terrible. It can be great if you use it the right way and you don't just say, tell me this. I could have said today, hey, AI, tell me what is the skills that are needed from 2025 and beyond, and then just come here and just tell you what AI told me. But it's not useful for you, and it's not useful for me. It doesn't help me take this information and see how I can use it in my business, in my relationship, and everywhere. So this is why I think that, this answer, you own that answer. And if you use AI the right way to support this, then you're going to start using AI, asking question, why, how, and then playing with this and taking concept and things and breaking this down. We see sometimes some people that, because all you, me, everybody here, our brain don't work the same way. We have different ways of thinking, different ways of learning. And then, some people, even as kids, they will take a toy and they will break it into pieces and they want to know how it works and try to put it back together. That's a great skill. And we should all do this today. We should all do this, saying there is a problem. Nicola was talking about problem solving. If you want to have a focus in your everyday life, be a problem solver. Because if you think as a problem solver, then you will be able to have some innovative ideas, to be different, really to stand out. So, and as I said, I will not follow the slides, I'm already not, but I just want to show you this, because if you look at this, it says the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. This sentence has been written in 1970s. This is a long time ago. It is still true more than ever. If you don't constantly be curious, go and try to understand the world around you, try to see how you can help and contribute, then you will stay behind. And I'm going to cover a bit of, the history and how other innovation based on history have been really changing the world that we know today. And for example, I think that everybody knows and understand the industrial revolution. This made a big, this is railroads, this is steam engines. All of a sudden, the world was able to connect. It was easier to connect. And then it changes how everybody was working. It changes it brought some new ideas of things that could be built. Then came internet, which made it even easier to connect with the world without even having to get on a train or get on a plane. And so it just reduced in terms of time and speed. And now comes AI, and then it's just exponential. So when this happened, when the industrial, revolution happened, what did it do? Some people lost their job and they could not adapt. They stayed behind. The people who got excited about it and started to think about what they could create in this new era are the people that have been winning. And then I can go on and on. You have the second industrial revolution, mass production, assembly line. That, Ford that came with assembly line for building cars. And then when I look at it from now and I look behind, I think that this revolution make human being the robots doing something on the assembly line, which is, I don't know how they could survive that. That's a terrible thing. But now it's reverse. Now we can create robots that will do this for us. Well, what do we do? What do we do as human beings? So, and again, we have so many possibilities, so many, opportunities. Think about today, you will see some employers like Google, like Tesla, and many others. There was a question earlier, will corporation allow their employees to use AI? Actually, I think that we are getting very, very soon to a point where it be, well, actually, if you don't use AI, we don't want to work with you. Because if you don't use AI, you don't have the same level of productivity. But of course, we don't want you just to give us what AI gave you, because then we just can use AI. So it goes back to my example of the PowerPoint. Let's say that you are a student that needs to do a PowerPoint, or you are an employee that needs to do a presentation, and someone else on your team has to do the same work. One will spend a few hours building a presentation, the other one will spend a few minutes. Then the one who's spending a few minutes is the one that is able to think further, to really use his brain and really to, think further, and will be able to do a much better job, either as a student presenting something, or either as an employee, contributing to the company. So this is why those things are so important. And we are there. We are definitely there where AI can do a lot of things. And I took some notes and I want to go back to this because I think it's very important. The problem solving, I mentioned it, I think that it should be your focus. What you need to understand is that thinking as, and maybe some people will disagree with what I'm saying right now, but I really believe that. I think that if you think as an employee, you are already in trouble, even if you're an employee. And what I mean by this is that if you're an employee, you are a product in itself. You are a product in yourself. And this product, you have to promote it. You have to understand it, to be able to show the best side of that product that is you. You need to think that way, because there is no job that is a lifelong job. So this concept of saying that you need to network, it is more true than ever. You need to network because that's the human side that we need to keep. That's the one that can be inspiring, and that's the one that can help you in your career. So you need to look at yourself as an entrepreneur looking at a product. And then you really want to understand how you can improve that product, how you can grow this product, and how you can promote that product. Hopefully that this makes sense. But, to me, I think that it's, if you start thinking that way, then you also become very powerful because you are in charge. You're in charge of your life. You are not dependent of your employer deciding to hire you or to fire you, because you can create opportunities, and you can even become your own entrepreneur. Again, going back to the previous presentation, there was, saying, what skills do you have? And I'm pretty sure that many of you who are students might say, well, I don't have experience, I'm not too sure. You need to think about how you can transpose your skills. Let's say that you are a soccer player. What does this have to, how can you use this? Well, if you're a soccer player, you have been learning some techniques. You have been learning some discipline. You have been learning some rules, and maybe you are very passionate about it, which means that you have a kind of a systematic way to say, this is the time I spend every week on this, because I know it's really my passion. All of this can be transposed. How do you use this discipline? How do you use those skills? How do you use the way that you have been learning to play soccer in terms of learning how to use AI, learning how to perform at your job, learning how to be disciplined in your job, and even learning how to share this with other people that would benefit from your knowledge and your experience? So that's once again, this is, I think, a real shift in how to think and how to see yourself, as a human being in the context of a world that is changing as an insane space. So I will now let me just go back to my notes for 1 second. I just want to talk a bit about, how AI is evolving and what it means. If you use ChatGPT today for a little question here and there, I would say you need to do more. You need to understand really what is possible for AI. You can go online. There are many presentations on YouTube. There are many things, but you need to understand what a possibility, what is coming are the AI agents. And the AI agents will be used and are becoming used by many companies where it's like creating a team. So if you work in a company, why don't you create your own AI team to help you perform your job? You could, because everything is becoming free to do. There is an AI tool that is new, that is starting to be used, which is called Operator. So Operator can do some work, can automate some work for you that can help you save time on things that are time consuming, not really nurturing your brain, your knowledge, that you can save time there and use your time differently. The AI agents are, they are becoming used by companies where they use AI, but each AI, it's like they are creating a persona of AI, and each AI has a specialty. And then they will have a marketing AI. They're going to have an operation AI. They're going to have a strategy AI. And they're going to make those AI work together. That may seem a bit, strange, but because at the end of the day, it's all using AI, isn't it? But the thing is that based on research, what they tell us, they say that if you use AI with some specialty, when they're going to research this huge, bank of information, the research will be more narrowed down, and your AI is becoming trained and knowing more and more and more, and is able to do more. Comparing if you ask you have just one AI and that doesn't work as an agent, and you ask a lot of different questions because it becomes, all spread. Also, I think that it is important that you don't use only one AI. I'm sure that most of them have heard about DeepSeek recently. DeepSeek is open source, so which means that you can not only use it for free, but you can build on top of it if you have some technical knowledge. But keep in mind that you don't need to know how to go to use AI today. You use prompts. You just tell AI, but use prompt the right way, meaning that you ask question, you don't ask 10 questions in your one question, you ask question and you build on it. And the other thing that is very interesting to do with AI is that you will, for example, you ask a question, or even you can even ask to build an application for you because it's going to create the code. But then you can say, okay, you take the answer that you got from AI, you give it back to AI, and you say, okay, this is what I want. This is the code I have. Can you please review this code? And then because AI is not a human, they don't have any ego in saying this is my work and I don't want to say that there are mistakes in there. So the new revision will come and say, oh, this can be improved, or this will not work. There will be a bug here. And then they will improve. You can do that all the time. And I was talking about DeepSeek, and if you follow, the different AI, the big ones, so we have ChatGPT, OpenAI, we have Gemini, which is from Google, we have Perplexity. Perplexity just announced that they have an API, and the API, the critical, the reasoning thinking of their API is actually using DeepSeek. Because instead of using ChatGPT, because DeepSeek, once again, is open source, so they can build on it without having to pay as much as they would have to pay if they are using ChatGPT. So if I go, now that I'm, covering a bit how you can use AI and how you can use different tools, I would say you have to start today. Maybe at first, it will be a bit overwhelming because there is so much information out there. But again, think about what are you interested in? Think about what do I know already? How can I use this? How can I, what kind of problems do I have? And how can I solve this problem? And can I solve those problems for some other people based on what I'm learning on how to solve my own problem? Blogversity is born because of that. Because I wanted to do some online courses, and I said, that would be nice to do some online courses. It's a passive income. I can talk about strategy. That is my background. I've been doing this for years. But then when I started doing it, I said, oh, I can sell my courses on a marketplace. They're going to keep 65% of my income. Not very interesting. Then I can use the traditional learning management system and put my online courses there. Then I will keep my income. I'm going to pay, a monthly fee to use a platform. But then how do I promote it? Then I need to market it. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. And then I started thinking, what if there is a tool out there that helps to promote my courses that's going to take care or help me and support me in promoting my courses, giving me the direct access to my potential audience, and help me understand AI, how I can improve everything, and even the learning of my students. And that's a problem that we want to solve with Blogversity. Nicola also talked about analytical skills. Yes, it is a number one in terms of the thing that you want to build. And there is a lot of data, so it's easier to find data with AI, find information. They can bring a lot of data, but I am also in agreement with fact check, because not only fact check, because there are less mistakes made by AI than it was only 6 months ago. But you still want to know this information that AI gives you, where is it coming from? And Perplexity will give you their sources. ChatGPT will give you sources. They were not doing that, but now they started doing it. So then you are able to go see, okay, is the source of this part of information is a credible source? If it is not, just reject it. Don't use it. You want to make sure that you're using when you're using it makes sense. So we still need you to be it's your to be able to judge how you use AI and what you use from AI. Also, I want to mention that with tools like ChatGPT and also with Gemini, ChatGPT does a better job, by the way, but you can create your own bot. You can create a bot that will know who you are, what are your goals, and that will always, every time you're going to ask a question, then AI will keep in mind what it knows about you, your objective, your challenges, and will provide answers that are way more relevant. So keep this in mind. You can even use, if you have a business, you can use a tool like this for customer service. And you can even tell AI, limit your answers to the documentation I give you. I don't want you to search on the internet. I want you to use all the documentation that I'm giving you. Then you will be able to have specific and relevant answers to people who chat with you and ask questions about our business. So that's another thing to do. And let me see what other things that I've been noting here. Engagement, human connection, networking. Networking is also important, and this is human. It's not AI. The only way you could use AI in networking, it might be to help you find people that you would be interested in connecting with. For example, another difference in the different AI between ChatGPT and Perplexity. Perplexity, when you ask a question to Perplexity, it will not only go on different websites and find information, it will go to forums. So it will search on a Reddit, it will search on Facebook groups, it will search. So which means that you could say, I am interested in finding forum discussing about this specific topic. And then it can guide you where you can find people that are interested in the topics you are interested in and where you can start connecting. But your goal is really to network, because networking, and more than networking, I'm saying, I'm not talking here about LinkedIn where you say you connect with people, because if you just connect with people, it's a bit meaningless, because you don't really know those people. You don't engage in discussion with them. Networking means engaging. It is discussions that you have with people about certain topics. And it is also create groups where you can support each other, interact with each other, and it can be done in many different ways. So I think that, this covers most of the message that I had for you today. And so if I summarize, lifelong learning, be curious. So it's a repeating from the previous, it's because it's important. It's because it's really, something that you need to consider. Think about your skills. Think about, how you can be creative in terms of solving problems, how you can do this differently than other people. And it doesn't necessarily mean to come with something 100% new that everybody had never saw. It can be just to explore what is already out there and say, hey, I think that I have a better way of doing this. it's already a big thing, and it is something that you can use. Helping to solve problems starts by improvement, and maybe one day you're going to have a genius idea that will be transform the world. Great, but don't think that this is what you have to do. Skills, resilience, yes, agility, going back to this quote about, if you cannot learn and unlearn. I love the word unlearn, because to really learn, you need to unlearn. And I will give a quote here about this. I'm very interested, Timmy knows about that because we are doing different things, but I'm very interested right now in studying influencers on social media, generally speaking, that are the top people that have millions of followers, and understanding how they, what are the principles that they use? What are the frameworks that they use? Why does it work for them? What can I use to do the same thing and to replicate this approach? And why I say that, it brings me to a quote. One of the person that I follow is Alex Hormozi. And Alex Hormozi said in one of his presentation, he said, if you came to this presentation today, and when you leave from here, if you don't change anything in what you do, you didn't learn anything today. And that's a very big point. So if you really want to grow, be relevant, take what makes sense for you, what is relevant for you, and apply it. Just don't go home and forget about everything that you've heard, saying, oh, that was interesting, but then don't do at least one thing that you can say, I'm going to try this, I'm going to do this, and see where it leads you. So that will be my conclusion, actually, for this. Thank you very much for your time and for listening. And as the other speakers, I will be available for questions and for in the breakout rooms. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Lynn. That was a very, very wonderful presentation as well, especially the last, your conclusion was very, very, very insightful. So I think we have time to take a couple of questions, before the next speaker. So if you have a question, you can just raise your hand or put it in the chat box. So yeah, if you have any question regarding this presentation, anyone? Okay.
That's good. They will come later.
Yeah, so I actually have one question though. Do you think there are certain areas where AI will be able to surpass human intelligence? Is this something that is a possibility, or yeah?
That's a very good question, and it's a difficult question to answer, because I feel that there are two answers to that. Because of all the data AI can process and the speed at which it can process it, I would say in that sense, AI is already smarter than human being, because we don't have all of this information, and it can take us a lot of time to find it, or maybe some of it we would never find without using AI. Well, now, so it goes back to how do we define smart, being more intelligent. And I think that where AI, and I don't know if one day it will go there, but why AI is not as intelligent as human being is that AI has no emotion. AI has fact, real or fake, because on the internet there is a lot of fake information, but they don't have experience. They don't have moments in their life that we have as human that really shaped us, made us who we are. It can be drama, it can be very just transforming experience that we had. And when we have this thinking, and when we think of problem solving, this is what our brain will go back to and bring things and being able to apply and think differently. AI cannot do that. They don't have this. And we have, this emotion, this compassion, this, all of those, this anger, maybe, we have emotions. And this really drive us way more than anything else. This is what drives us. This is what, when they say, and I don't want to have a too long answer, but I think it's very important, when they say that, well, I call this a panic button, but what I want to say by that, it's that, human being, we can face a situation, and let's say that you and I, we face the same situation, a failure. You have a failure, I have a failure. Trying to do something just doesn't work. Depending on how we have been raised, depending on, what we have been experiencing in the past, we will react differently. If I had a very bad failure before, maybe I'm going to start thinking, oh, I am a failure. I'm just so not smart. And I'm going to just basically put the blame on myself, and it will bring me down, and I will not, comparing, or it can be, oh, I am ashamed, and then I want to hide. Comparing to someone else, you say, oh, I failed. What can I learn from that? How can I apply this and not make those mistakes again? It's a totally different reaction and behavior, and it comes from our personal experience in the past. So it's like your brain connects things differently and will make you react differently. AI will not do that. So that's, in that sense, I think that we are much more intelligent.
And also, thank you very much for that. And in addition to that, I think another thing that we're better is creativity. Now, artificial intelligence can give you ideas. When it comes down to creating something that has not been created before, it can't help you with that. And that's where human beings we are, because even all of the artificial intelligence itself was created by the mind of human beings, right? So one of the things that we have is the fact that our minds can actually think of, and that's why there's been a lot of emphasis on creative thinking, right? Another thing is perspective also. As human beings, we have different perspectives. We grew up, we read books, we have childhood experiences. AI just generates, right, from what is out there. It uses our data, uses the data we feed it with, right? So those are various ways. AI is amazing, but there are various ways where it cannot beat the intelligence of man, regardless. Even if the world makes it look as if, oh, it's going to beat man, it can't, right? Because the idea of creating the thing was man's idea in the first place. Do you guys understand? So,
yeah. Yeah, I think that those connections in our brains are very, very important. When you were talking, I thought about one day I was at the office when I was working for the web agency, and I'm having a conversation with the CTO. And he is telling me, oh, no, it's not possible to do this. But then I remembered something not closely related, but something that we did in the past in the world of media using a satellite. And then I just reacted and said, well, I remember this thing, that's what we did. And we used a satellite, and then we're able to connect the information. I didn't even know what I was talking about somehow, because it was just, I did not understand the details of the technology. But my brain connected what he was telling me to this past experience. And then I just threw this at him, hoping that he could make sense of it. And he did. He was like, oh, yeah, I didn't think about that. And then he started saying, oh, this is what we could do. And then he did something with it. I could not, because I just didn't really understand it. But he was able to do it. So this is also this thing about connecting and networking with people, because you can, through discussions, you can come to things that can be very interesting and innovative.
Thank you very, very much, Ms. Lee, for that. Like, I'm really, like, I understand better now. I think someone was raising his hand. I don't know if he still wants to ask a question. Ibrahim, is this still here?
I see a question in the chat section.
Yeah. I was trying to add a question related to looking at the dynamic and the changes of AI, but I dropped down my hands because the answer that they were given is somehow related to that. But I will ask again. That I just remember the quote by Albert Einstein saying that he fears when technology will surpass human interaction, the world will be a generation of idiots. So then I said, okay, in this current war of AI, where AI is trying to or already surpass some human capabilities, then how can a human be above AI? You understand? What exactly are we going to be doing that will make us to be extraordinary or one step ahead of AI? I hope you understand. Then, but I got the point of emotional intelligence, creativity, but still, I would like the presenter to share more light on that. What exactly that a human needs to be doing to be staying one step ahead of AI? Yeah.
Yeah, I think that, yes, you got part of the answer. It is our emotional intelligence, it is our own experience, and the other part of the answer, it is to understand how to use AI. To be able, because what I was talking about earlier about creating agents that can work together, we can all do it. You can do it. You don't need to know how to code to do that. So if you really understand how to use AI, therefore it goes back to the previous presentation. AI is a tool. It needs to be a tool for you, for all of us. And if we use AI to tell us how to think, to tell us what to give back to other people, because we just took something from AI and we give it back, then AI is smarter than us. And because we no longer use our brain. And it might be okay sometimes to not use our brain, in the sense that the PowerPoint presentation, why do I need to spend time on that if I can have something that's going to do it for me very quickly? It's a task. It's not, we need to become kind of intellectual being. We need to think way more than we need to do, little tasks. This is why when they say that many jobs will be replaced by AI, it's true. The same way that, manufacture, and just robotics replace people. But those are not tasks where you really use your brain. And that's the thing. What we want to do is to be able to put all of those tasks out and use AI to do it, where we are able to give all our time to being above that and thinking and being creative and thinking about solutions to problems and so on.
And I'll just add that if you really want to be ahead of AI, we need to really, our intellect needs to go very high. So we need to learn thinking. Like, we have to be able to think and solve problems. This mind, I always say my mind is my gift. Once you can't use your mind, then AI is going to be way above you. So just continue to sharpen your intellect, sharpen your ability to creatively, systematically, critically think, and then solve problems.
Yeah, and watch video or read books. I mean, you need to nurture that, feed, then have things that make you think. I have, for years now, I don't know for how long, for many years, I haven't read any book that is a fiction story. what I read are bios, business books. It's just because I feel that my time is so limited and I want to learn and I want to be inspired. And so then I chose to not spend time on those things. I'm going to watch a movie here and there because sometimes your brain needs to relax. But it's just to say, you need also to decide that you don't spend hours being, on TikTok, which brings you nothing, or watching things watching movies that you're not even really watching. You're just killing time. Please don't kill time. Use time. So
Thank you very much, Ms. Lee. Thank you so much. So we'll just quickly take the questions in the chat. Someone says, Shubomi says, what kind of skills do I need for my business? I sell toys, drinks, and snacks. Also, I sell long reach products. So I think
sorry, what kind of skill do I need for my business? I sell toys, drinks, and snack. Also, I sell long reach products. So I think that, if you're in sales, and we didn't mention that so far, sales is a very important skill to have, because sales means, in a way, critical thinking. It means compassion. It means networking. So if you don't know how to sell, then how can you sell yourself first? And then, so I would say you can work on refining. You can use AI to refine your pitch, better understand your customers. What is the decision-making process? How do they think? What's going to make them choose your product versus the product of someone else? And when you think about decision-making process, it means that you need to go much before the moment where they buy. It's just to say, what are the triggers? What make them want this? How do they think? What's going to be the blockers that are going to say them, oh no, I won't buy. It's not price. I'm telling you, it's not price. It's never price. It's because it's always about the value, or you were talking about snacks. Snacks are related to so many things. It can be, I've been used as a child to eat a lot of sweet things, and I love it, and it makes me feel good. It makes me, it's like my little moment. It can be that. It can be that I'm very, very careful about what I eat and about my health, and I don't eat sweet because of that. Or I want to understand what are the ingredients in there, because I think that some ingredients are bad for my health. So when you start thinking about all the things that people can think of when they decide to buy a product, then it's going to help you from your sales. So you can use AI to do some research to understand what are the factors, what are the trigger, the influencer factors, and so on. And then after that, how you present your product. So then it goes to branding, the way you're selling it, the way you're interacting with customer, how easy it is for them to get access to your suites. And I don't know if you are in a B2B or B2C business, but just to give you a bit of a sense of thinking, focus on your customer. And then after that, because sales, and think about what are the component part of a sale. And even if you are a student looking for a job, I just want to tell you that you need to sell yourself. So sales, keyword.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think we have two questions that are the same. So they're just asking for some AI tools outside ChatGPT that could help you with productivity.
Yeah, I'm answering now. I'm going to answer in the chat.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
Just to also state, so we're going to have like sessions where we're going to be talking about how to actually use these tools. So those would be like master classes that we would do. So yeah, just to let you know.
All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Lynn, for your session. So we'll be moving to our third and final speaker. Yes, Mrs. Sheon Adewumi. She's a very close friend of the family, and it's always an exciting time to have her here. So I'll just quickly read her bio. Yes. So Ms. Sheon Adewumi is an accomplished and driven human resource executive with over 15 years of practical experience. She has worked and led teams within the oil and gas, management consulting, FMCG, information technology, and engineering industries. She's especially skilled in infusing technology and innovation into the implementation of business and people management strategies. She's highly passionate about developing and adapting great work culture, collaborating effectively with relevant stakeholders on various initiatives to deliver sustainable value to employees, leadership, and investors. She has been actively involved in leading and driving several HR and business management projects geared at enhancing proper business structures, processes, and improving overall employee engagement. She is the founder of Geminio Consulting, a capacity development enterprise born out of passion to improve employability in the labor market and provide job opportunities for competent professionals. She's currently the head of talent management and human resource manager at Dangote Sugar Refinery PLC. She holds a BSc in English from the University of Lagos, Nigeria, and an MSc in Human Resource Management and International Development from the prestigious University of Manchester, United Kingdom. She has undergone several professional and leadership training programs. She's a member of the Institute of Directors, Nigeria. She's also a member of the Society for Corporate Governance, Nigeria. She's a certified learning facilitator, and she's also a certified professional member of the Apex regulatory body for HR in Nigeria, the Chartered Institute of Personnel Management. And she holds a human resource practitioner license. She's passionate about youth empowerment, capacity development, and employability. And this passion has led to her active involvement as an astute speaker in youth empowerment and employability related forums. So with no further ado, please join me as we welcome Ms. Sheon Adewumi. So Ms. Sheon, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Nifemi. Please confirm you can hear me loud and clear.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Awesome. First, I'd like to just say a huge thank you to the organizers of the program. Like you rightly said, I'm a friend of the family. But I must acknowledge the fantastic and exceptional presentations of Lynn and Nicola. It was very engaging and exciting, and I learned a lot from the session. And in fact, I almost thought at some point, do I really actually still need to make a presentation, because they've capped it nicely. I think they've delivered the message, nicely. But without further ado, I'm just quickly going to go into my slides. I see everyone on the call, but I feel like the chat room is not buzzing enough. So I'd like you to just say one thing you picked today from the session, just one word, just one thing that you've learned, one thing you've picked. I want to see the chat room buzzing just so that I know that we're together. Yeah, so please drop just one word, any word that resonates with you from all that you've learned today. Thank you. I see the chat room buzzing, but I want to see some more, so keep it dropping. I'm not going to go over my bio, because thank you very much. Nifemi has given an introduction of me. So I'm just going to go straight right into it, because we spent quite some time. So basically the skills that you need to develop in 2025 and beyond. And the previous speakers have done justice to the matter, right? But first of all, it's important to clarify why this discussion is important, I mean, you would think it's obvious, but this discussion is important because the world is changing so rapidly. When we think about before 2020, I remember I used to sort of see Zoom. I used to see different apps, Zoom, and then I remember even at work, at the time I worked at an oil and gas company, and I remember I kept trying to drive the management team to say, you know what, can we start to move our management meetings to be online? Can we start having more online meetings as opposed to having to be in a physical conference room physically? And, you know, the rest of my management team will say, oh, no, there's no point. We need to be able to see each other face to face, etc. This was in 2019. That being said, I led the IT team as well. So between the IT tech and myself, we agreed and we said, you know what? I mean, the world is changing. I mean, the world is globally developing, etc. Let's go ahead and still make sure that we've signed up. So we went ahead to sign up for Teams. We had a Zoom account, etc. We all had all of that. We had no idea that COVID-19 will hit and we'll all get to a point where we'll be stuck at home on lockdown, compulsory. I mean, compulsorily, right? And so fast forward into 2020, all of a sudden, pandemic happened, COVID hit, and we were forced. I mean, it was disruptive. We were forced to have to sit at home. We were still working, but we were at home, right? And we didn't have a choice. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't like we decided it, but we were forced to do it. And that's why we're having this discussion, because disruptions would happen, whether we like it or not. I remember somebody asked a previous question earlier about, you know, working in an organization where it feels like because they're using AI, they're not exactly compliant. The truth of the matter is, in the next couple of years, whether we choose it or not, we will use AI. It will no longer be an option. It will no longer be a choice, but it's here to stay. Again, it's all a matter of how we are adapting and how we are adjusting to ensure that our natural intellect is not being killed in the process, right? So basically, while we're having discussion, number one, the future of work is changing rapidly. Whether we like it or not, we must adjust, and those who don't adjust would unfortunately fall along the wayside. So globalization and connectivity as well. I'm here in Africa, in Lagos, Nigeria. It's about almost 6 p.m. my time. Elaine is somewhere in another part of the world. You know, and then Nicola is in the UK as well, 1 hour behind me. So the world is so large, but yet the connectivity has made it a small world. And that's part of why it's important that we're having this discussion. And I know the first speaker, Lynn, talked about, Nicola talked about the World Economic Forum. It's almost like we shared notes, because during my research as well, there's a lot of data by the World Economic Forum, and it's reporting and telling us about the global workforce and how people need to acquire new skills. I mean, new skills now and in the nearest future. But, you know, new skills are not only technical, they're also the soft skills that the previous employer had talked about. And I'm just going to touch on them from an employer's perspective as well. We've established adaptability is key. Adaptability is here to stay. And regardless of how much technical competence any individual has, if we don't have the mindset to be able to adapt, then we're setting ourselves up for failure. Right. So very quickly in this session, we're going to be exploring the critical skills that we need to thrive in 2025 and beyond. We'll explore some strategies. We'll talk about different skills the employers are seeking as well. So from an HR perspective, where I sit and haven't had the opportunity to engage multiple candidates weekly, we see the gap, we see the skill gaps all the time. We see the gaps in terms of the mindset. We're beginning to look for people who have a mindset shift, people who have a growth mindset, etc. So we're going to be talking around that as well, right? So very quickly, I'm not going to overdwell on this slide because I think the previous speakers have done justice to the emerging technical skills now and in the near future. We've talked about artificial intelligence. I mean, I think somebody also touched on robotics as well. Robotics now in the near future is here to stay, whether we like it or not. However, humans are the ones that determine what the robot should do, right? So there are people who are deciding how they want the robot to work. So robots cannot take the place of humans. However, it needs to help us get more innovative, so we're always a step ahead, right? So we talked about data scientists as well. In the past, I don't think data scientists were taken very seriously, particularly in Africa. But now they're taking more space in the market share, in the market space. Their jobs are taken more seriously because what is AI without data, right? So the data, artificial intelligence is basically fed by the data that people put into them. right? So data scientists are taking more place in the labor market, particularly in Africa as well. Cybersecurity, is also critical. In the past, I remember way back when I was much younger and a teenager, I remember when Yahoo, Google Mail, etc. first started. I simply just remember that my parents would write a letter on paper, have to seal it and post it and wait a couple of weeks for some uncle or auntie to receive the letter. And then they would then write back and it would take another couple of weeks to receive the letter. And communication, at the time, it didn't seem like a big deal. But in hindsight, just think about it for 1 second. Imagine communication now that we take for granted and we can chat or have a conversation with someone in less than seconds. Took months to be able to get feedback from people. Families lost touch, etc. But all of that has changed, and the future of work is making it even easier. Lynn talked about favoring her slides in 50 seconds. That's a classic. And that's really the direction that the world is going, and we all need to align with it. Like I said, I'm not going to dwell too much on this, but 2 things I will touch on here that neither of the previous speakers talked about, and are the emerging skills that are also coming up as social performance and impact. So in the labor market, we're seeing that a lot of jobs, regardless of what role it is, regardless whether you're a doctor, regardless of what it is, social performance is now taking shape, where your role now not only depends on you being able to function effectively as a core expert, but what are you doing for your immediate environment? How are you impacting your stakeholders? Who are the people who work within your various stakeholder environment? Who are that? What are you doing for NGOs within your environment? How are you improving your community? And how are you impacting your environment socially? That's also critical and needs to be implemented across any organization that's structured and forward thinking. I think the next one is sustainability and green technology. If for those who are in Europe and other parts of the world, the green technology is already really beginning to take shape, where we're seeing loads of cars that just need to be charged before they can get on the road, right? And then we're thinking sustainability, we're thinking about health, because we're thinking about people's health. The sustainability is such a huge thing and it's opening up very quickly. So organizations who are not thinking about social performance and sustainability are also going to fall along the wayside. So it's important that even in our tech space, we're thinking in this direction. How are we ensuring that we're implementing our job, regardless of what it is, in a sustainable way? So thinking long-term, 10, 15 years from now, what will happen to that business? What are the structures that we put in place to be able to ensure that we remain sustainable and that we're saving our environment? Those also are important and critical besides the core tech functions. And now I'm going to sit a bit more on the interpersonal skills. And I know the previous speakers have done fantastic justice to it. And so first of all, emotional intelligence. And people use the word emotional intelligence very loosely. It sounds almost cliche. But we see over and over again in the workplace and the labor market that people struggle with emotional intelligence. People struggle with as basic as knowing when to say no. And people struggle with as little as knowing not just when to say no, but how to say no. Did you know that you could easily decline a request in different ways and would determine different results, right? So you ask me a question and I respond politely and say, oh, I'm afraid I won't be able to do it now. Could you do it at a particular time? I could easily say no, and that could become an issue. So interpersonal skills are so critical. So emotional intelligence is key. Your ability to be able to think things through and respond in a way that will still get you results, even if it's not at that moment. Also, collaboration and teamwork. I can't overemphasize that enough. Because at the end of the day, regardless of what role or what industry, you can't do everything alone. Nobody can do everything alone. No one is an island. So you need to be able to collaborate and work with other people who have different mindsets, but an aligned vision. When I say mindset, and they have different skills, pardon me. So if someone might be stronger in technology, somebody else is stronger in analysis, and we have a whole team who have different strengths in different areas, and the beauty is be able to come together and work as a team. During one of our classes, we usually say, no matter how technically sound you are, if you're one who always disrupts teams, who behaviorally have not mastered the art of being able to engage and work in unity with others, then the team will be happy to let you go. So working as a team is being a good team player is such a critical skill to have, not just now, but even in the near future as well. Communication with established is important. So we talked about AI supporting, but how is AI going to support you if you're not able to carefully craft exactly what you require to be able to even put on the app in the first place? So written and verbal communication is key. While AI can help us with documentation and help us to sort of coin what we want to say, AI can't deliver the speech for us. AI can't deliver your presentation. So there's still the space for your ability to be able to deliver presentations, engage powerfully during sessions and meetings and trainings. All of that AI cannot do, right? AI can help us craft the content, but we must continue to develop ourselves and read in the area of being actually be able to give verbal feedback. My network is a bit disrupted, so if you can hear me, just give me either a thumbs up or say here, drop here in the chat. I just want you to be sure that we're together. Are we together? I just need one person to say yes.
Yes.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so next is adaptability and agility. I think the previous employers talked about that. Your ability to be able to adapt regardless. I've seen many people who have one simple challenge with their employer and they put in their resignation. And when you ask them, oh, why did you resign? And then they tell you about something that was seemingly something that they needed to just have spoken about, engaged, and it would have been resolved. But they left their job and they're back in the labor market. So your ability to be able to adapt is very important. And employers are looking at this when they engage you doing interviews. Do you run away from issues, or are you a problem solver? Are you ready to engage and find solutions, or are you one who runs away and from issues and challenges? Those are soft skills that will keep us not just as employees, but even as entrepreneurs, right? So entrepreneurs have to go through all sorts doing their work life, doing their business life, trying to grow their business, and they must be adaptable. They must be able to proactively align with what the world is saying, the directive in which the world is going, and be able to be adjust and agile. So we must be agile enough to be able to be proactive in our thought process. And how does that happen? Through a lot of reading, through a lot of engaging, through networking, through identifying those who are already working in that path and seeing how we can connect with them, and learn from them as well. For example, this session, there are loads of other people who received the same invitation, but they're not here, right? So knowledge is power. And when you've acquired knowledge, no one can take that away from you. And when people are knowledgeable, it shows during conversations, it shows during engagements, it shows at work as well. When it's your personal brand, right? And because you have knowledge, because you engage people frequently, when someone is looking for a strong, critically thinking person to engage, you will find that they're constantly recommending you because they recognize that you have knowledge and are always happy to share it. Cultural competence and global awareness is also important to have. Gone are the days where we were over focusing on, racism and thinking, oh, this person is somewhere in the heart of Africa, so I can't do anything with them, but they're somewhere in the heart of Europe. Technology has made that so easy. Artificial intelligence has made that so easy. With one snap, I'm able to engage someone in another extreme end of the world, and we're able to think about each other's cultural differences, but make it so irrelevant to be able to align with our vision. So again, the mindset shift. The future of work is really about people who are ready to align and shift their mindsets to focus on goal and purpose to grow, not about all the softer issues that used to be a big deal in the past. Leadership and people management, that's also critical. And like I say to everyone who cares to listen, you don't actually have to be the team lead to exhibit leadership skills, right? I don't have to be the MD. I don't have to be the core leader in the team. However, when I exhibit leadership skills, it means that I have ownership. It means that I have a can-do spirit. It means that I'm not limited and I'm waiting to be told what to do, but I'm able to actually use my initiative and make efforts to be able to deliver on the goal, right? And that's such a huge difference. And that's why you find two people join an organization in one day, or two people start a business in the same year, but you see the difference in the growth because there's the leadership mindset that one individual might have and the other doesn't, right? Problem-solving skills as well. So the ability to be able to think beyond just what you can see. How are you analyzing issues? Are you looking at issues from one perspective, or are you looking at them holistically? You're looking at them holistically, looking at the pros and the cons, and making an informed decision, but being open-minded enough to allow adaptability. So to be able to see where was more critical at some point, and then the other at the other point. That's what critical thinking really is. The ability to be able to look at things holistically, look at decisions holistically, look at suggestions holistically, and make an informed decision based on the matter at hand. And that can change subject to what's required, right? Right, your ability to also be creative in how you think and how innovative you are. I remember when BlackBerry first started, I don't know what you would think. I remember when BlackBerry first started, I came up, I think in my memory of serving at 2004 or 2005. And I remember thinking, oh, I don't want BlackBerry. We were just trying to transit into mobile phones here in Nigeria. And then someone, I think the mobile phones came here in Nigeria in the year 2000. And by 2004-05, people were talking about BlackBerry. And I was just like, you know what? I don't think I'm interested. And I have a friend who said to me, look, if you don't get it, we used to call it BB. If you don't end up not having a BB or a BlackBerry, you're going to end up staying behind. You're going to end up being old school. Everybody else is going to move on, and you would not have it, and that's fine, but we'll move on and leave you behind. And I thought, actually, he's right. So I went on to get a BlackBerry, and of course, other social media tools came up after that. I remember when WhatsApp first came out, it was almost like nobody was paying any attention. All of a sudden, it's almost like we can't do any work without WhatsApp right now. And my point is our ability to be flexible and adapt, but knowing how to manage the tools to work for us effectively. So again, to the point of the previous speaker, are you sitting on TikTok when you should actually be improving your IQ, right? Or what exactly are you using these tools to do? Are you using them to develop yourself, or you're using them to watch content that is irrelevant to your growth and development? I think the how is what makes it critical for you in terms of there's a lot of tools out there, but what are we doing with them, and how are we using them to help us grow? I think the one word here is growth mindset, or rather the two words is a growth mindset. For people who continue to thrive 2025 and beyond, you need to have a growth mindset. Your mindset cannot be static. You have to have a growth mindset regardless of what level of leadership you attain. You have to have a mindset to know that you're open to learning and you're ready to grow, and you're willing to work with people across different age groups. I have a teenage son, and sometimes when we engage, he says a word I've never heard before, and I thought I knew all the slangs. And I go, what does that mean? And then he tells me what it means, and I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. So when I hear someone else saying this, I now know what it means. So we must have a mindset of being open to grow and learn across different multi-diversity age groups as well. And that also helps those who are leaders on call to be able to engage trainees and younger people who work on your team. And because again, you're able to understand how they're thinking, and that helps you become more successful as a team, because you're not fixated on what your thought process is, but you're diverse in how you're thinking and how that can help your business or your organization. Okay, so strategies for developing some skills very quickly. So I think first things first, you need to identify the key skills for your field. I mean, the world is large, the labor market is large, and there are different skills for different fields. So carrying out research is important. So I think for things like carrying out research through ChatGPT is fantastic. It's easy, but it's not enough to just put content on ChatGPT. What are you doing with the content? Have you verified where the content is coming from? And how relevant and adaptable is the content to your context, right? Is it adaptive? Is it relevant to the context in which your organization operates? I know many organizations who are still slow in adapting AI. I think many of the reasons when I've engaged has been, you know what, we're still trying to be careful. We don't want all our data out there. We're still not sure where all this data is going. I know what the direction most businesses are going and now to align with AI technology providers to see how can you tailor this for our organization so that we know that we're protected from an information management perspective, and that the content that we're putting on the protected AI for organization, confidential data is not going out of the business. I think when more businesses begin to have that mindset, they'll be more open to accepting AI into their businesses. So identifying the key skills for the field, and then of course, continuous learning. We can never learn enough. There's several things on this call that we would have said before, but sometimes you need to hear it over and over again. And beyond hearing it over and over again, when you hear it and you leave here, what are you doing with that knowledge? How are you making yourself relevant with the knowledge that you've acquired? Like many people on this call, and at some point in my life, I used to be on webinars almost every weekend. And it was just to learn different things. However, I realized there was a lot of growth. You don't realize how much you've learned until when you engage other people, then you realize how much content you packed in your head from reading, from engaging, etc. Right? So continuous learning. Learning is a lifelong journey and a lifelong experience. So it's important that you stay up to date, and more importantly, even find out what's going to come up in the nearest future. But beyond just learning, hands-on experience, are you one who just sits behind and tells people what to do, or do you have the capacity to actually be able to do what you tell people to do? Have you been open-minded enough to be able to engage, to say you had someone in your team to ask them questions? How did you go about this? How did you acquire this knowledge? There's no age limit or barrier to learning, and those are the kind of people who will thrive in the future of work, right? And I know we've overflogged this, but networking cannot be over or underestimated. When you networking intentionally. So again, it's not just about networking and meeting someone and you never use their number or you never engage. Engaging is really the power, right? Ability to be able to engage, but engage with something in common. So what is this in common? It's easier to be able to engage when you have something in common, when there's a connected mindset, a connected vision, or some learning that needs to happen. And that could also happen from mentoring and mentee relationships. So you need to identify what your own core area is and identify the network that exists for you at that time, right? And then attend webinars and conferences, meet up with people. Don't be a loner, because at the end of the day, if we grow together, right? Don't be a loner, and be out there, engage people and tell them about what you do. Half the time, people forget. Out of sight is out of mind. But when you're putting content, for example, on LinkedIn, you might not be connecting directly in terms of engaging. When people's contact see your post, when they need something, they're able to think and say, oh, I know this person. He puts up some connection. You're positioning yourself as a thought leader, and you're positioning your brand, your personal brand. And so it's easier to reach out to you as well. So collaboration and feedback as well is also critical. So collaborating with people. No one's an island, no one has all the knowledge. So being open-minded and humble enough to be able to collaborate and receive constructive feedback is also a critical skill and tool to have now and in the future as an individual. Okay, the mindfulness. So I think we've talked about that. I'm not going to overflow that because of our time. Your ability to be able to emotionally regulate. So someone spoke earlier and mentioned, how ChatGPT is different from humans. With humans, where we get emotional, ChatGPT doesn't care if they're giving you somebody else's information. It does its work, and that's it. You humans get emotional. So it's important that we know how to self-regulate, how to balance our emotions. Practicing mindfulness is a powerful tool. I learned that in the leadership course, how to just be able to sit, reflect, practicing how to listen. It's important. It's amazing how there's so many people who just don't know how to listen. Before you're able to give them feedback, they have 1,000,001 other reasons why something would not work. So the ability to actually be able to listen is a core skill to have now and in the future. When you listen, then you're able to reflect and think and be able to actually constructively give an objective feedback. However, when you're boxed and you're always, your response is already a no even before you understand what the ask is, it limits the individual and it limits growth as well. After a while, people just leave, people who are always quick to be defensive, they just stop responding or saying anything to them. Doesn't mean that they are right, but they're just not having it. So it's important as well as a skill and as a personal trait to be able to listen, to be able to engage, and be able to accept feedback. And then setting clear goals. In the next future of work, by now, every individual on this call, you need to be able to have a plan. So what is the strategy? What's my next strategy for the next 2 years? What do I need to get? What qualifications do I need to be able to attain my strategy for the next 2 years? Where's the world going in the next 3 years? Where are we going? Do we know all this? Do we have all the answers? No, just like COVID. We didn't know COVID was going to hit. However, there were still organizations who were prepared to immediately adjust. Many businesses had to shut down in that year, by the way. While some businesses made more money than they ever made in the history of their kicking off. Check that and think about it for a second. So it's important that we're constantly researching and we're open-minded. The world is a global village, and I think it's to our advantage. Also practice empathy. It's important how, I don't know if you've ever heard or engaged people who say, oh, you know what, there's this person I will do anything for because when I was at my lowest, they were there for me. And sometimes those are people who have helped other people skyrocket their career. So the human relationship is so important. Showing empathy to colleagues or friends or other people who need our support is key for our growth and key for their growth as well. So again, those are soft skills and strategies that are important. And then the loads of transferable skills. And transferable skills are really the foundation. Because the world has moved beyond, oh, this is what I know. For example, I'm an engineer and that's about it. It's not enough to be an engineer. It's not enough to be a technical person or be strong in a field, but your ability to be able to develop skills that you can, that are versatile, that you can apply across different roles, different industries. Are you boxed in your mindset? Are you open to be able to say, you know what, I've done this in the last 20 years and I'm happy to shift to try on something else. Those are people that will thrive in the future of work. The future of work has moved beyond, oh, my father did this role for 40 years and now he's retiring in the role. That's in the past. The way the world is going, we must be flexible enough to be able to be versatile and diversify into other career paths if we want to. So it's okay now to be bold enough to diversify into another opportunity when they come, if you're convinced and you're ready. I've had many people approach me to say, oh, I was in this role and now I'm trying to diversify. What do I need to do? Read. The world is an oyster. There's a lot of knowledge online. Read, and read. I can't overemphasize that enough. Read and engage people who are already working in that path. And if you need to volunteer, please do. And before you know it, you will easily transition and thrive in a new opportunity. And you know what? If you don't thrive in the opportunity, it's okay to go back. There's no shame. There's no shame. It's your career and it's your choice. And you can go back to continue the path. That's absolutely okay. But we must be bold enough to take decisions and try opportunities that could potentially work for us. Right. Okay. So examples of transferable soft skills. I think 2 previous speakers have spoken about it, and I don't want to overflood it because of our time. But very quickly, I talked about it earlier as well. Communication is key. I've spoken about this. The only thing down here I haven't emphasized is the resilience and stress management. And resilience and stress management is so important because it borders on mental health, right? So you find that sometimes people are so stressed, and because they're stressed at work, before you know it, they're struggling. So it's important to know your limit as an individual or as a professional and know when you need to step out and take a break. There's no shame in that. But the ability to be able to be resilient and withstand pressure is also a core skill to have in the future of work. That being said, if anyone feels like, okay, you know what, I need a break, it's okay to take a break, take a couple of days to be able to regenerate, go to the gym, make sure you're eating healthy, etc. In as much as their personal decisions, they help an individual thrive in their work life, because you must thrive as an individual before you even excel as a professional, right? And they work hand in hand. So being mindful about your mental health, how stress management works for you and how you manage stress as an individual. And it works differently for different people. For some people, all they need to do is work out. For some, all they need to do is eat healthy. And for others, all they need to do is spend time with their family. So find what works for you as a stress management strategy and work with it so that you're able to thrive in all the other areas that we've spoken about. Okay, I'm going to skip this because I think we've sort of already spoken about it. So very quickly, I'm just going to say, to stand out in today's competitive market, job market, professionals must align. So you must align not only, first of all, your personal values. You must be clear about what your personal values are. You can only succeed when you're clear about what your personal values are. Then you're then looking for organizations that align with your personal values, right? And then obviously, you tend to be more successful when you work with an organization who aligns with your personal values, because you're more encouraged to be able to give your best. But that being said, when we say personal values, we're not talking about religion. We're not talking about, softer personal values. We're talking about values in terms of decision making. Are you working for an organization, for example, that does child labor, and you know that's the case, you don't want to be involved in child labor? Those are the kind of personal values I'm referring to in this context. And again, they tie back to what we discussed earlier, social performance and sustainability. And those are really tied to the United Nations goals as well. And I'd like some of you to please read up on that in your personal time. Okay, so I'm just going to quickly jump on here. The kind of skills that you need to showcase as well. For those who are because I know there are different people on this call. So for those who are in the labor market, who are looking for work, make sure your CV is tailored to factor in transferable skills, right? So the kind of different projects you've worked on and how you've used technology to infuse them. Knowing your CV. I find that many people use artificial intelligence to work on their CV, and they're not able to defend their CV. You ask them a question in an interview, and they don't even recall that they have that line on their resume. So be in tune with your profile. Don't be disconnected from your profile. Also, leverage on online optimization. LinkedIn is a powerful tool to be able to create your professional profile out there. However, it's not enough. I don't know if everybody realizes now there are a lot of motivational speakers on LinkedIn. Everybody now has content. So before it was a case of, oh, these are the guys, these are the thought leaders. Now it's almost like everyone is a thought leader. How are you going to make your own content stand out, right? In all the noise, you need to be able to leverage making sure that your own content is more professional, that your content is not all over the place, where you're focusing on a particular direction in terms of how you want to be seen. But more importantly, don't let your LinkedIn profile be completely disconnected with your personal CVs. Sometimes I look at profiles on LinkedIn, and the profiles look like, oh, this person is such a senior individual. Then there's an opportunity, and you engage them, you invite them for interviews, and it's like night and day. They have a very strong LinkedIn profile with loads of followers, a lot of content, but there's not much in terms of their ability to think or their ability to even to respond to questions. Right. And so you find that, they've been using AI to create their content, but they don't have a lot of knowledge. So it's easy for employers to see through eventually. So make sure there's a balance between your personal brand and the knowledge in terms of your IQ, the reading, all the knowledge you're acquiring, and your networks as well. Not just your networks online, but your actual physical networks. That's critical. So usually interviews, we use the STAR method, which is situation, task, action, and result. When you're responding during interviews, respond from that perspective, giving solid real life examples with situations, the task, the action, and the result that you acquired. It makes you stand out and different from the average other candidate, right? And then obviously showcasing transferable skills that we discussed before, showing that you're a problem solver, you're a critical thinker, and you're technology savvy. And I would just say on this call as well, you can never have enough certifications. So because remember that the world is evolving, and so certifications get upgraded, and newer technology is coming. Newer technology keeps coming every year. So it's important that we're upgrading ourselves, joining online courses, learning as much as we can, because again, no one can take that knowledge away from you, right? And it adds to the pool of capacity that you're able to develop to be able to deploy your work as a professional. So also build a portfolio. So build a portfolio in terms of have a structured portfolio of all the work that you've done, because half the time we find from where I sit in HR, when I say, okay, just share a portfolio of your work with me, I find that it takes some candidates over a week it just tells me, oh, they didn't have it and they're not putting it together because I have asked, especially if you're in the technical space. So please put together a portfolio of your work. It makes, selling your brand easier. We've talked about networking strategically. I'm not going to overemphasize that. Groups like this are a good opportunity to network. Conferences, you can't overestimate. And when you go for conferences, please don't just go sit down quietly like me when I was just finished uni and then attend the conference and then pick up your bag and go home. Engage, speak to people, ask questions, volunteer, if you can. That helps develop solid relationships, and it also shows that you're a serious-minded person as well. And like we established, show results, not just skills. It's not enough to have all the skills, but are you getting results? It's not enough to just talk. What is the action? What is the result that you have? What evidence do you actually show to indicate that you're a result-oriented individual? Again, that's the way the future of work is going, and people with those type of mindsets are those that we will see that will continue to thrive now in the next future of the work. So very quickly, I'm just going to end us with a call to action. Because what is all this conversation if there's no next steps, right? For many people, we attend all sorts of different webinars. What is the call to action? What are we going to take from here? The future belongs to those who prepare for it today, according to Malcolm X. So it's not enough to sit and have this call, but what are we going to do from here? What is the next steps? So my encouragement to everyone on this call is, as you end this evening, and don't let knowledge die. Take your laptop or your iPad, whatever it is, itemize what your own next goal is in terms of your career path. Do some research and try to map out what are the areas of development that you need based on all the learning that you've acquired today, and sort of get an accountability partner and self-regulate, reevaluate, and have an accountability partner to check in 6 months, 1 year, if you're working the path. And I trust me, in another 5 years, you look back and you see that you've achieved a lot from this session. I'll now end here. Thank you very much. Temi and Ifemi, back to you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Sharon. That was a very, very insightful presentation. I think this whole session of today was for me because I learned a lot. And thank you. So if you have any question for Ms. Sharon, you can just raise your hand or put it in the chat section. Okay, I see Ibrahim's hand. All right, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much once again for the opportunity to ask the question, and for the presenter, Mrs. Sharon. Yeah, she's our boss. Let me say this, but I was trying to hide, but I have to say it. Yeah, I was opportune to be part of the trainees that she trained under Dangote Industries Limited. Right now, I'm the Environment and Social Analyst of Dangote Group under HSSC and Sustainability Department. So, well, my question number one is under emotional intelligence. Emotional intelligence. Well, I know that, I come across all the documentaries and professionals saying that you need to have these skills for you to be employed, this and that. What matrix did HR or you professionals in HR use to detect the level of emotional intelligence of somebody that you want to employ? Yeah, what are the metrics so that maybe I can become aware of them and scale maybe in the future? Then the next question is about learning. Several times I had a lot of advices saying that you need to be reading novels, particularly novels. So what I see is that this is something that our great-grandparents had been doing, and the world is changing. If you ask our parents, they used to say that we read books, we read novels, and now we are advised to read books and novels. Is it not changing? Is it not that reading novels is not outdated? I mean, or is there something else that we're supposed to be doing that can replace reading novels in acquiring such skills in the novels or something like that? Yeah, maybe attending webinars or something like that. Because this is something that I had been questioning myself. Keep writing documentaries or books or yes, some dramas and proses. That is why people are emphasized on reading novels. Or is it relevant? These two questions: is it relevant, or we just want to keep those people writing books? So these are my questions. Thank you very much, Ma.
Okay, thank you very much, Ibrahim. Shout out to my Dangote. I'm graduate trainee, well, ex-graduate trainee. You're now fully employed. You've left the trainee role. Okay, so awesome. So your first question: what metrics do we use for emotional intelligence? I think different HR professionals and different organizations have different models. One of the things that I would say that HR people are very skilled at is to be able to, through our usual question and answer, through the STAR model, be able to tell based on your experience. So based on what you're describing to me, let me just give you a real life example. I engage you and I ask you a question. For example, I ask you, why did you leave your previous role? Just as an example. And you respond to say, oh, my manager gave me a task, I didn't like it, and he's been on my neck, and so I resigned. That's not a solid enough reason for you to resign, for example. But if you said to me, oh, my manager was always bullying me or picking on me, and for example, and it was beginning to impact on my emotions or feeling comfortable, and I thought it was healthy to leave the job, that makes sense. Because after all, your well-being is critical, right? So the different scenarios would determine in terms of your level of emotional intelligence. It's just really about how people think and their approach to, adapt to different situations. And there's typically no right or wrong answer. Another organization will interview you, you'll give the same response and it'll be okay for them to hire you. So different businesses have different core values and kind of individuals that they're after. However, to prepare ourselves for the future of work, it's important that we're able to self-regulate and we're not a team member who pull everybody back because we're always trying to be emotional about everything. I hope I've responded to that question. And the next question about reading, you said something, you said reading stories. When we talk about reading, we're not talking about reading stories, right? We're not talking about just reading random stories. We're talking about reading books that would help develop knowledge, skill, capacity, and give more exposure into insights for roles, right? I believe it was Lynn who talked about, she doesn't remember having read a random fiction. She's read books on leadership. If I'm looking to be a leader, yeah, I would want to read books about the experiences of other leaders. For example, last year I read a book about Sheryl Sandberg's book, Lean In, talking about women in leadership and imposter syndrome and all the different things that women face. Why do I have to face the same struggles when there's been another female leader somewhere who has experienced something similar and she's put it in a book and I can read and learn from it? So our parents read book in those days, but what did they do with the knowledge? Was it books to just have stories that they could share, or did they put it? Remember, we also talked about execution. It's not enough to read and have the knowledge. What are you doing with it? The difference between those who succeed and not are those who actually do something with the knowledge that they acquire. What are you doing with the knowledge that you've read? What kind of books are you reading, first of all? And what are you doing with the knowledge that you've acquired? That's what will make difference. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Shell. Thank you for answering the questions. So right now we'll be moving into the breakout rooms. So we'll be having 2 breakout rooms actually, and then everybody will be shared into the breakout room. So please don't leave. The breakout room is just to have a one-on-one session with the speaker, like just get to ask questions that you have, and also just network with them, and yes, meet people as well. So please let's not leave. The session hasn't ended, so please we'll be added into the breakout room soon. Yeah, so please ensure you make most of this opportunity, ask questions, network, and yeah. All right.
Nithemi, just to clarify, so are you sharing, how's the breakout room session working? Are you sharing with everyone what room to join, or do you want to
Oh, no, so
provide some more details, please?
All right, so the way the breakout rooms work, so there are two speakers currently on, and they will be in two different breakout rooms. So everybody will be shared equally to the different breakout rooms. So we'll all be put into the breakout room.
Great, thank you.
All right.
Okay. Josie, are we ready with the breakout rooms? If not, okay. Okay. You know what, if I may just go ahead. If anybody has any question, I'm not sure Josie is ready. So just go ahead if anybody has any question. If not, let's just conclude.
Okay, so does anyone have any question or anything they would like to ask any of the speakers? So we have Miss Lynn and Miss Seon still available for us. So if you have any questions regarding transferable skills, emotional intelligence, AI, anything, so please let's just ask the questions that we have. You can put them in the chat. You can raise your hand as well to speak. Anyone is fine. Okay, so now we can, so everyone, I think we should be able to see the breakout room on our screen. So if we can, please let's join. Let's try to join the. So Moyoba and Shubomi, I think you should be able to join a breakout room. There should be something popping up on your screen, so you can just click it and join.
And join where? Sorry.
So on your screen, you should see like Dose is inviting you to join something. So is it showing for you?
Muyoba, you can also join. Tell how are you?
I'm fine, Temi. Thank you very much. How are you?
Me, that should be favorite. Me, just join. You can join the breakout room.
The pop-up unfortunately disappeared. Can you just try to resend another one so that I can join?
Sorry, 1 second. Okay, now, okay, good, great. We're good. Now I hear you. Now sorry. A little tech thing going on here for a second. It's all right. You know, if we're looking for the perfect couches, we're not in. And that's really important, actually, aspect.
So we have only Moyoba here. Are you having problem joining a room? Moyoba. Sorry if I'm moderating.
Yeah, he said like this thing disappeared, so if you can send it again.
You're the person that someone calls with challenge. Or, hey, what do you think I should do about this? Or help me think this problem through. That's generally does really well. Your brain. Yeah, I want to make your brain. Hey, I need a sounding board. A sounding board, and that's great. And I love, we love doing that for certain friends. Ultimately, you can actually have people can invest to do that. And
apologies, I had to join. Can you please send me back to my room, Nifemi?
Okay, so those here would.
Branding. That actually has been proven.
Nifemi, can you please send me back?
There are two things that.
Yes, ma, we're working on it.
Done. It should be on your screen now.
There's an energetic exchange of commitments. Okay, write that down. Energetic
Listen
exchange.
here.
Now, what we have seen the best energetic exchange of commitments is
Yeah,
basically
she's gone.
For more
energy.
so there are 9 people in the other 8 people, and one has on.
And if you solve
You want to join them? They're small.
Huh?
money is just
Want to join the show people?
Okay, let me join. What group is that? Is it skills 2?
Yeah.
Skills 2.
That's small, so let's
Okay.
ask.
There are two things going on in a coaching situation: the relationship, client, and the process they're going through. It's basically there has to be a unit of exchange. Another saying is money is just units of choice. So also we're also you're getting paid so you can do more of what you love. If you can get paid by your clients.
Mr. King, you don't want to moderate Line's room.
Okay.
I thought somebody was supposed to be there to direct the conversation. Nifemi has joined the other room.
So group 1 is lines, right?
Yeah, skill 1, yeah.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you. Yeah, so everyone should be back from the breakout room. Thank you so much to our speakers. We really appreciate you. So right now, before we go, we'll just be taking the closing remark, the thanks, and the announcement, and that'll be done by the founder of our organization, Timmy. So Timmy, you have the floor.
Okay, so thank you, everyone. It's been a full day. I want to really say thank you to all the speakers for spending their time. There are different time zones, but they really gave their time. And thank you very much to Ms. Sheo, to Lynn, to Nicola. Thank you very much. I would definitely reach out and give feedback. And thank you to all of the participants. I believe that it was valuable to you. That's why you stayed till the end. But please don't just join. As it has been encouraged, make sure you go back and say, what am I going to do? What's that one thing I want to do? Because if you don't upskill, like I always say, you are just not valuable, right? So please. And then to all of the volunteers, Dozie at the back end, Nifemi, Evelyn, Favor, Adebambor, Emmanuel, thank you to every single one of you. Without you guys, I mean, I can't do this, right? So I really, truly appreciate. Thank you, and thank you. And we're going to be having more sessions where we're going to be literally taking these skills and tearing them open. So we'll have sessions on talking about how to develop the skill of critical thinking. We're going to have sessions where we're going to be talking about how to use these AI tools, right? We just have a packed year for you guys. So as much as we can, we'd reach out. And in the middle of the year, we're also going to run like a holistic skills workshop, right? So there's just a lot, right? To just get ready to hear from us. The goal this year is to ensure that you upskill. So we're going to put it in your head and your faces. You must upskill. You must. Thank you. But thank you to every single person. I truly, truly appreciate this. This has been an amazing session, and I'm really grateful. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you
Bye.
very much. Yeah, so I was wondering if the speakers could like put their LinkedIn profiles, or people are leaving already, so maybe people might want to like follow them, connect with them or something.
Thank you, Madam Sheo. I did have some questions for you, though. I thought I was going to be with you in breakout session, but I will link up with you on LinkedIn and connect with you to ask those personal questions.
No problems.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So yeah. Thank you, everyone. We can.
Thank you, Nifemi. I guess maybe you can share it via since you have the details of the those who registered. Maybe you can share. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks everyone for joining. Have a good evening.
Thank you very much, Ms. Sheo. So good to see you again.
Same here. Thank you.
Thank you, this generation. Thank you, Timmy. Thank you, everyone. God bless. Cheers.
Thank you, everyone here. Yeah, bye.
Those in the background, well done.
Yes, sir.